So this is Barricade's 3-inch bull bar in the gloss black finish, fitting your 09 to 18 Ram 1500, and you should be checking this out if you're looking for some basic front end protection for your truck and you want to spend the least amount of money doing it. I say that because at around the $150 price point, this is currently the least expensive piece of front end protection that you can get for your Ram 1500, and that includes things like brush guards as well as armor bumpers. Now, what's nice about this is it's very easy to install. There's really no modification required. Bolts up to the frame rails using the provided brackets in the kit. You might have to make some simple cuts to the provided splash guard, but it's definitely something you can do with basic hand tools. So for that reason, I'm giving the install a very soft 1 out of 3 wrenches on my difficulty meter. I wager it'll take you about an hour to get this thrown on. Now, why would you want a bull bar like this as opposed to something like those bumpers and brush guards? Well, pretty simple. This is a much more minimalist design. It's a lot more compact. It's not going to take up all the space on the front end of your truck. It's not going to add excessive weight or bulk. This is pretty lightweight. You can actually pick it up by yourself with one hand, and that's not going to be the case for things like those giant brush guards and those armor bumpers. You're also replacing a lot of the factory equipment on your truck with those pieces of hardware, and let's face it, those other options are a lot more expensive, right? So this one's very affordable, very easy to install, and it just looks good in my humble opinion. Now, that's not to say you can go full Mad Max on the highway with this thing, but like I said, if you get into something like a small fender bender, or if you're in the parking lot and somebody's not paying attention, unfortunately, I'd say this will do a very good job of protecting that grille and that bumper, save you all the headache of having to get some body work done. Now, even though this is the most affordable bull bar, that's not to say that it's cheap by any measure. It's all welded as one piece. You do get a really nice formed skid plate on here, which just adds to the overall aesthetic, provides a little bit more protection as well. And underneath here, you got stainless steel, and I believe this is a black powder coat finish, but even if it's a painted finish, and even if you do take some of the finish off, again, that stainless underneath won't rust or corrode anytime soon. The brackets that are used to hold this thing to the frame rails are very heavy duty as well. They're about a 1/4 inch thick plate steel, again, all welded as one piece, and you do get some pretty beefy hex nuts and bolts, which I'll show you in a little bit. So again, if you want the most affordable and the easiest to install front end protection for your Ram, then the Barricade 3-inch bull bar is the ticket. And if you decide to stick with this one, then you can come back in a minute and I'll show you guys what tools you need to get the job done. And I'm actually going to walk you through the entire install step by step.
All right, guys, to get your bull bar installed, at minimum, you will need a flathead screwdriver with standard drive ratchets, as well as a 7mm and 10mm socket. You'll also need a 16 and 18mm deep socket with 16 and 18mm wrenches, and optional but very helpful tools include a trim panel removal tool, an extension, an impact swivel socket, and an impact gun.
All right, so we put our truck up in the air just to give you guys a better picture of what we're working with. Obviously, you guys can do this on the ground, no problem. But we're gonna be starting with the splash guard here. There's a couple of hex bolts on the outside with 10mm flanges, so you'll need a 10mm socket to remove those. Once we've done that, we'll crawl underneath and I'll show you guys the rest of the hardware that you have to remove the splash guard to make room for our new bull bar hardware. All right, once you've removed those 4 hex bolts on the underside, you can come underneath here on the inside, and there's these little hex screws on either side securing it to the bumper. You'll need a 7mm socket to remove these hex screws. All right, once you remove that hex screw on the corner there, you need to pull 7 of these push pins out. It's very helpful to have a trim panel removal tool like me, and if you don't have one, you can use a flathead screwdriver. All right, with all that other hardware removed, you're gonna separate these plastic tabs as you pull the splash guard away from the lower bumper. It's very helpful to have a flathead screwdriver to dig in there as you do this. All right, with the splash guard out of the way, we're gonna install our brackets here. This is the bracket that's gonna go to the bracket that secures the bull bar. We have to remove both of these nuts here, securing the bumper. You'll need an 18mm deep socket, and it's helpful to have a swivel socket handy. As you can see, it's a little bit of a tight space. Now, if they start spinning on you like that, just put some pressure on the head of the bolt there. That'll keep it in place while you can loosen the nut. All right, now that that bracket's installed, we're going to install the bracket to bull bar bracket. And for this one, you'll need the flat washers, crush washers, and M12 nuts in the kit. For the M12 nuts, you can get away with using that same 18mm deep socket. All right, since our truck is not equipped with tow hooks, we're going to be installing the support bracket provided in the kit. In order to do that, you're going to remove this bolt right here. And again, you can use that 18mm socket. Now when you go to tighten down this support bracket, you want to make sure the hole on the other end lines up with the other hole on the bracket we just installed. All right, now to secure these two brackets together, you need to grab the smaller and skinnier bolt provided in the kit with the appropriate size flat washers, crush washer, and nut. In order to tighten this stuff down, you will need a 16mm socket and wrench. So we have all of our hardware ready on one side. We need to do the same thing on the other side before we install our bull bar. But at this point, you have a decision to make. You can either cut this splash guard to reinstall it. Pretty simple stuff. All you gotta do is line it up once you have both brackets installed. Go ahead and mark it with a wax pen or even a crayon or something like that and simply cut it out. Pretty straightforward stuff. You don't need to have the splash guard reinstalled technically. If you guys want to leave the bull bar in place, you don't want to cut this, maybe you want to remove it later and you want to keep this as one piece, you can do that too. But something to just keep in mind before you throw the bull bar in place, once you get both brackets installed, you have that decision to make, cut this or leave it aside. At any rate, we're going to throw the bracket on the other side and then I'll show you guys how to get the bull bar installed. That should wrap up this entire install. All right, our truck's back on the ground. We're ready to throw our bull bar back in place. In order to do that, you're going to be grabbing the remaining large bolts, flat washers, crush washers, and nuts in the kit, and you'll need an 18mm deep socket and wrench to tighten all this stuff down. Pretty simple stuff. You're just going to line up the brackets on either side of the bull bar. We're going to get the bolt through the bottommost hole in the bracket, then we're going to rotate the entire assembly up in place. We'll make sure it's nice and flush and squared up with the truck lines in the body. Then we'll put the second set of bolts and nuts. We'll tighten everything down, and that should be it for us today. All right, so once you got those final bolts and nuts tightened down, go ahead and double check the fitment, make any adjustments as needed, and that should wrap up the install. And one cool thing to point out that I did not mention earlier, if you wanted to throw some auxiliary lighting on this guy, you could do so. There are some holes pre-drilled in the center beam here. You just gotta pop those little rubber grommets out. But on that note, that also wraps up my review of the Barricade 3-inch bull bar in the gloss black finish, fitting your 09 to 18 Ram 1500. I'm Travis, thanks for watching, and for all things Ram, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.